All right. It is 10:13 a.m. local time. I've attempted 2 times now to talk about Ronald Reagan and the Iran-Contra affair. Every time I got to like talking about it, like my computer crashed. So what I've done now, I took the time, I reversed 2 fans in my computer case. They were intake fans, and now they're I turned them into exhaust fans. And I believe that made a gigantic difference. The hotspot difference on my GPU, the delta is about 15 degrees. Not even that much. No, dude, it's about, no, what am I talking about? 73 and 79. It's 4 degrees. It's 4 degrees delta. I'm recording and I'm streaming in AV1. But here, let's actually be into it. Oh yeah, it jumps a lot. That's because I wasn't into it. Now that I'm into it, it jumped to like 85 degrees. But still, that's not bad. That's well below specs. So, anyways, man. So what I've done is I've changed the orientation of 2 of my fans from intake to outtake, or from intake to exhaust, and then I increased the curve optimization even more. I'm on the border now, like of maxed out. I have one more incrementation I can make before I'm maxed out on curve optimization. Only one more incrementation. And then after that, I have to go maxed out, and I don't want to. But okay. So I'm trying to watch my temperatures, and they're not that high, dude. They're in this. It's the CPU temps are 60s right now, and I'm flying around, doing crazy stuff. Oh, that's the other thing. The other difference I made is I limited the frame rates, both in AMD software and in Minecraft program itself to 90 frames per second. And you can see I'm not getting it all the time. But like, yeah. Let's see, options. If settings. If I take off adaptive, what does that do? I mean, it's a little bit better. You can see for yourself the frame rates. Oh gosh, they still dip below 60, but still, that's with OBS running. So, and doing pretty aggressive optimization. Anyways, what are my CPU temperatures at? CPU temperatures are in like 50s. Like, I think the orientation of my fans was a huge thing. It changed. Maybe right. I haven't. Let's see if my shit blows up yet. I'm up at like 87 degrees on my video card. But it was my CPU that crashed, not my. Yeah, it was my CPU that crashed, not my video card. It could be that I'm doing too much curve optimization. Let's see, right? Let's just see what happens. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Oh shit. Chunk corruption. Oh my gosh. All over the place, chunk corruption. Uh-oh. I wonder what that's gonna do, because I crashed. That city looks okay. Uh-oh. The train line is broken right now because there's a giant chunk corruption that transported it like to someplace different where it's not supposed to be. That looks all right. What's going on here? Let's see. That looks all right. This looks okay. I want to go to sleep to get rid of this rain. Can I? It's pretty dark. Ow. Because that puts a hit on my CPU and I can't see what's going on. Oh, I can't sleep. Oh no. Anyways. Danger. This world is got chunk corruption in it, and I don't have any backups. Ah! I haven't backed this world up, man. Like, oh, I might have, but not anytime recently. Yeah, that's a chunk corruption. That chunk shouldn't be over there. It was transported from there to over here. And then this is all chunk corruption. Like, what are you doing here, dude? I don't know if there's anything other. You can easily see the corrupt chunks. Oh, right there, a giant hole. Ow, ow. Oh my god. Ah. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. And that's what happens when your entire computer system crashes at like totally and utterly. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. You don't want it to happen. You want a stable computer system if you're going to stream. My hotspot in temperature right now reads at 88 degrees Celsius. And the GPU temperature is 76 degrees. So there's not much of a delta between the two. So, yeah. Fuck Nazis, fuck Hitler, by the way. That's just what it reads, dude. Now it's 75, 78. Or 75, 85. So, there. Now it's 87, 75. Oh, there we go. Now it's clear. Okay, so I can see what chunks got corrupted. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at that. Right next to the town. Yep. That's what I get for not having backups. Not anytime recently. I can check, but I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna try this again with Reagan. I'm gonna try to. Welcome to my show. This is like the third time. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. Like, I reverted to the 18-bit or the 16-bit textures, 16 by 16 bit textures, original textures. I'm not even using that texture pack. I mean, it still looks good. It's Minecraft, right? You know, the shaders do a lot of the work, but okay. Yeah, here, and then I'm gonna turn off now my graphics stuff. Man, what a long thing. I totally what happened? Let's see. What am I looking at? Extras. Is it working now? Is it gonna work? Are we going? My CPU is still chilling like at 60 degrees. 61, 62. Ah! Ooh, I didn't die. Nice. Okay. Fucking. Where was I at? Old Mother Reagan and her crew took away from me and you. I wish she'd go far away. She better go far away. Okay. Alright, I'm criticizing Reagan. Any hackers want to like blow up my computer? Can you do it? I turned on the secure computing module. I turned it back on. Because, like, I'm trying to find evidence of micro stuttering that caused me to turn it off to begin with. And I don't see it. I'm getting a pretty, like, smooth experience here. I'm also aware that it could be due to mods. I had an absurd number of mods installed, and I didn't know if they actually did anything. I just installed them, and some of them I know they did stuff, but like they don't work. I don't have them anymore, and it's kind of nice. So, or not kind of nice, but I mean like it still works. Did I really need the mods to begin with? All they do is add uncertainty. Oh shit! Okay. Okay. Wow. Hi. Good morning. I'll be your pilot. All right. So I was telling you, man, why was I even talking about Reagan? The first, like, that was like the first coup, the first Republican coup. It was covered up. It was bad. It was not a good thing. Like and that's why they don't talk about it much, because it's an example where things went bad. And you know what I found out like recently? I didn't really believe it, or I didn't really know it was true. But Lyndon B. Johnson, LBJ, used the CIA to spy on his political opponent Barry Goldwater. Like I don't know if that's like a valid use of government to do that. I didn't know it was true, and I don't really know much about it. I just read enough to know that it was a real thing, and it wasn't just bullshit. I'm like, I gotta look into it. But I do have an example of when somebody was was tricked into spreading propaganda, and they were totally unaware of it. And when it was called out that's what they were doing, they got angry about it. Let me tell you a little story. All right, so there's this guy. We all know this guy. His name is John. Like, I don't know. We don't know this guy. We're just pretending, right? Just pretend. Hypothetically, let's think. There's this guy named John, and John walks into a bar and like picks a fight and like hurts people and then gets his ass beat up and then is now like awaiting trial for his crimes. Now, two friends are talking, and one friend says, well, the ex-girlfriend of John. Let's call her Jane. Jane Doe, right? Yeah. Jane was there, and she was recording it. And I'm like, so, so, well, you gotta do the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Why? Because the next question is, why was Jane there recording the fight between John and everyone else? Was she instigating it? Was she like trying to set John up? Was she trying to do something like nefarious? Like, why was she there recording it? Like, like that's the implied question. That's what she said to me, right? That's what she said to me. Or not what that's not what I no that's not what but that's like the question. If you go along with that narrative, if you go along with the idea that Jane was there recording it, and you go along with it, you're gonna like not focus on John. You're gonna look at Jane, and you're gonna look for ways to absolve John of starting fights in the bar. It's a trick, you see. You're not talking about John. Like, why did John start a fight in the bar? You're talking about Jane, who had like, who may have had something to do with it. Maybe she was at the bar recording it. Maybe she was at the bar recording it. What if? So I'm like, I pointed this out, right? They're telling me the story. Oh yeah, the story about how Jane maybe was at Jane, the ex-girlfriend of John, was maybe at the bar recording it, maybe. And the overarching narrative of one side is that John is blameless for everything. Like, you can't blame John for anything. So, in the larger context, saying that, hey, maybe it was not John, maybe it was John's ex-girlfriend that did it, that caused the fight. Do you see the subtle shift in framing? It's no longer about John's unacceptable behavior at the bar starting a fight. It's about Jane's involvement, which may or may not be real. So the whole point is to absolve John of his involvement in the whole deal. It's John's fault, dude. It's John's fault. If you go back and look at it, the whole thing, like, you know, on tape, you can totally see John. It was all John's fault. The whole thing was John's fault, and he had a bunch of enablers that helped him along. But by even entertaining the idea that maybe Jane caused it, against all evidence. There was no evidence even. It was just implied. It was just suggested. Yeah. It's like a mental trick that's used, that you have to be careful about. Hey, look, my computer hasn't crashed yet, but I haven't shown any slides. So let's see what happens when I up the ante and start showing some slides. Oh, I have to talk about Reagan first. Let me finish the story about Reagan. Old Mother Reagan and her crew took away from me and you. I want to finish my Reagan story to put at ease my mind of a conspiracy that hackers are like getting into my computer and crashing it because I'm talking about Reagan. So I need to put it out there. It has to be done. So, Reagan, the quick and dirty, right? Reagan had a back channel. 1980s, Ronald Reagan had a back channel, or 1979, Ronald Reagan had a back channel to Iran, who was being controlled by Islamic extremists, and they were holding hostage in the U.S. embassy a bunch of Americans. So Jimmy Carter was president. He was and it was his duty as Americans, as the president, to like do what he got to do, negotiate with foreign governments. That's what the president does. Private citizens don't do that. That's what the president does. So he had negotiated with the Iranian government to have the hostages released. Unbeknownst to everybody else, Ronald Reagan had a back channel. Private citizen Ronald Reagan. He's not president yet. Private citizen Ronald Reagan had a back channel to the Iranian government, and he told the Iranian, like, they're not a legitimate government, right? They're Islamic extremists. They're not interested in justice. They're not democratic. They're bad guys. The Islamic extremists and the Iranian government is an authoritarian regime. They're bad guys. So Reagan said to these bad guys, "Hey, bad guys, I'll give you a better deal if you don't release the hostages until after the U.S. election." And the bad guys, the Iranian regime, was like, "Okay, Ronald Reagan, private citizen." So that's what happened. They didn't release the hostages. Jimmy Carter lost the election in 1980 to Ronald Reagan. Then the Iranians released the hostages, making Ronald Reagan look incredibly powerful when he wasn't. He was just dirty. Okay. So that established a relationship between the Iranians government and Ronald Reagan. So there was a weapons embargo against Iran. Congress set it up. U.S. can't give any weapons to Iran. At the same time, Ronald Reagan wanted to intervene in the war in Nicaragua, in Central America. Two different places, right? Totally separated, totally separate places. Iran's way over in the Middle East, and Nicaragua is in Central America. So Nicaragua people, or somehow came to power, the Sandinistas, which was like a leftist government, and this pissed off a lot of like businesses in the USA. So there was a group called the Counter-Revolutionaries, the Contras. They waged war, but a terror war, not just like a war, but like a terror war against the Sandinistan government. And Ronald Reagan and the Republicans wanted to back the Contras against the Sandinistas, but they weren't allowed to because they didn't control government. And Congress had forbidden. They said you can't do it. It's not your war. You can't do it. You can't get involved. So Ronald Reagan, anyways, set up a deal. He's like, "Hey, Iran, I'll give you weapons under the table, illegitimately, and in exchange, you give me money, illegitimately." And Iran's like, "Okay, Ronald Reagan, president of the United States, we'll do your deal. We won't tell Congress or anybody that we're going to do this, but we're going to do it." And they did it. And then on the other side, Ronald Reagan, his administration, didn't just sit on that money they got from Iran. What they did was they used it to fund the Contras in Nicaragua. So that means Ronald Reagan got to have a private war, his own private war. He was involved in the Contra, the civil war in Nicaragua, and he backed one side explicitly, the Contras. The Contras are not good guys, dude. They had death squads. They just went around like murdering entire villages. They were bad guys. And like they were like anti-government. They were against the government, the democratically elected Sandinistas. I think they were democratically elected. I'm not sure, but I gotta check. So it was like, damn, dude. Don't look at Nixon. Look at Iran Contra affair. because Billy Barr was involved in that. The attorney general that Donald Trump picked was also involved in the Iran-Contra affair, in the cover-up. Because you think, well, shit, dude, if all this stuff went down, why didn't anyone go to jail? And it's because Congress cut a deal for immunity with one guy, Ollie North, and then he took the fall. He said, "It's all my fault. No one else knew. No one else was involved." And yeah, he took the fall for everything. And then Ronald Reagan is famous for saying, "I don't know," like 1,000 million times. And then that got people thinking, well, is he saying it because he's doing a cover up, or is he saying it because he's got Alzheimer's and he really doesn't know what's going on? Like, man, I think he was like ruling by astrology for a while. It's scary. He had an astrologer, his personal astrologer. He made foreign policy by it. It was awful. It's awful. Anyways. Why am I even talking about Reagan? He's a bad guy. Why did I even start talking about Reagan? I don't know. I forgot. Anyways, I got all these like things here. I should probably focus on the slides that I do have rather than whatever. Oh yeah, I was talking about Empty Wheel. Empty Wheel, she was helping me out. She was that's right. I remember now. So, before everything fucking crashed on my side because my computer overheated, I better watch the fucking stats, right? It's all cool. It's so chill, dude. Because I switched the direction of the fans, really? Okay. Fascists and Republicans, their enemy, number one enemy is truth. They can't abide by truth. They have to subvert it somehow. One way they subvert it is through false equivalence. What is false equivalence? False equivalence is taking two things that are totally different. It's taking two things that are totally different and then saying they're the same thing. And then acting that way, even though they're totally different. That is false. That is the nature of false equivalence. Let me show you. I mean, literally, it's you take two things, like a lapis lazuli block and a redstone block, and the truth is they're totally different. They're totally different. If you try to run a redstone line off of a redstone block, you have power. If you try to run a redstone line off of a lazuli block, nothing happens. Does it? Maybe it works this way. Nope, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Maybe you have to put it on top. Yeah, there it goes. But see, it's not because it's on top. It's because it's connected. So it's not that the lazuli block can actually conduct a signal. It's that it's that the redstone goes on top of it. If you just pull it straight out, it doesn't work. That's just the way it is. So Republicans want to say that, oh yeah, these two things are the same thing, when they're totally not. The way I was doing it was showing how Bill Clinton, the whole impeachment of Bill Clinton was based on a fishing expedition. The definition of like weaponized government. The Republicans started their inquiry about Bill Clinton, about a real estate deal from 1973, in which he was never none of the Clintons were ever like found guilty of anything, of any wrongdoing. There was no wrongdoing by the Clintons, none, dude. It was all the other shady people, the other people who were shady. They never proved it. I mean, what do you want to do? Like, it went through our court system. Like, I can't. What else do you want me to tell you? Like, you either believe U.S. courts or you don't. All right. So, So that's why bad court rulings are really, really bad. Anyways, so there's nothing bad there. So they had to wait 5 years for Bill Clinton to meet Monica Lewinsky and then have an inappropriate relationship with her. They had to wait 5 years until that happened before they can be like, before a third party, Linda Tripp, would make a recording of it and then try to make money off of it, and then blow it up. And then Republicans found that and latched onto it as a way to get Bill Clinton out of power. Right? That's the whole of it. So there wasn't even a crime when they started their investigation. I mean, I'm not saying that Bill Clinton was right for having an inappropriate relationship, and I'm not blaming Monica Lewinsky. Dude, she was an intern. She was in a subordinate position. She had no power relative to Bill Clinton. Like, to the president of the United States, come on. Like, maybe things were different back in the day, but but come on now, we're like modern, right? Like, if it's true all the way through. Okay, so as I was saying, they're trying to do false equivalence. So that's the nature of the Bill Clinton scandal, the impeachment. And all the Republicans voted to impeach Bill Clinton and remove him. And that's the key, and to remove him because he lied under oath about having a sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky. That was the hinge for everything. It began as a real estate deal investigation from 1973 and ended like 7 years later with a lying under oath about an inappropriate sexual relationship. Literally. And the Republicans voted to impeach and to remove him based on him lying under oath. That was the thing that made them do it. Okay. But they want to say that is the same thing as what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump did two things. He was impeached twice. One of the times was he was literally recorded extorting our ally Ukraine in order to get political leverage on his opponent Joe Biden. He literally is on tape doing that, and he had multiple contacts with dirty people in order to get his dirty work done through Rudy Giuliani. And he basically destroyed the American state system, in the American presence in Ukraine, in order to put in dirty people that would be subservient to Donald Trump. He was right, and then Republicans voted not to impeach him not to remove him for that, not to impeach him and not to remove him. Why? Because they said, yes, we have evidence that that's what he did. Of course, you can't deny it. Donald Trump extorted Zelensky to get political dirt on Joe Biden. But that is not reason enough. Did he lie under oath? No? Well then you can't impeach him. Donald Trump did lie under oath because he submitted a written statement that was not truthful, as proven by Robert Mueller. But we're not going to get into that. Republicans aren't really about logic. They're not really. Their arguments aren't truthful. They're not made in good faith. They're just there to be evasive. Because remember, the truth destroys them. So the other thing Donald Trump was impeached for was trying to overthrow the government on January 6th. He spent months planning to contest the elections. Then when the elections happened, he had 60 court cases at the same time. Man, that's a lot of money. But he lost all of them. He lost all of them to challenge the vote, his claims of voter fraud. When all of that failed, when he had his due process all exhausted, he gathered a mob to come to Washington, D.C., to literally use violence to stop the exchange of power, the transfer of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. He tried to overthrow the government and stop democracy. And Republicans voted not to remove him for that. They said, no, that's not bad enough. That's not a reason to remove a president. Just because he tried to overthrow the Constitution doesn't mean we should remove the president. Did he lie under oath? No. Well, then you can't remove the president, according to Republicans. Because they did vote to remove Bill Clinton for lying under oath, but they didn't vote to remove Donald Trump, who tried to overthrow the government and who extorted Zelensky, and who what's it called? and who stole shit from Congress. So there. then now we have the Republican committee. They've been hyping it up for forever about trying to connect Hunter Biden to Burisma to Joe Biden. They've been trying forever, and they can't do it. Their own witnesses, before I even get to Marcy, to Empty Wheel, their own witnesses show that there's no connection between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's business deals. There's no connection. There's none. Their own star witnesses. What did I lost it, and I was on a total great thing. Like this. Oh yeah, there we go. I have it up when it crashed. Oh, that's funny. Hunter Biden business associate testifies he has no knowledge of wrongdoing by Joe Biden. Republicans released a 141-page transcript of Devon Archer's testimony on the same day former President Donald Trump was arraigned in Washington, D.C. So that served two purposes. All the media coverage was focused on Donald Trump, so you didn't notice that the transcript has been released. Why would that matter? For weeks before time, the Republicans were hyping up Devon Archer as the kill shot on Joe Biden. He was going to provide evidence that would link Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's business dealings. He was going to do that. That way, that would give them reason to impeach Joe Biden. They hyped it up. It didn't actually happen yet, right? But weeks before, they insinuated that's what was going to happen, because that's all they have is insinuation. They insinuated. And then when the day the testimony came down, when they came down to actually do it, it was done in a closed door hearing, so the public couldn't see what was going down. The public couldn't see what happened. So after Devon Archer had their closed door meeting. Dude, I want to see if I can find it. Goldman. There were two narratives that came out of that closed door meeting. From the Republican side, they said, "Oh, there it is. We have all the proof we need in order to convict Joe Biden. Just trust us on it. We're not gonna. You didn't see the thing. You didn't hear it for yourself. We haven't released transcripts, but just trust us on it. Let Fox News make clips of it and spread it all around what we just said. That oh yeah, for sure we have it. Just trust us." On the other side, there was this guy named Dan Goldman. Who was like, yeah, I sat in that meeting and I asked him straight up, do you have any evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden? Like, was Joe Biden at all connected? Anything wrong by Joe Biden? And their own person, Devon Archer, said, nope, I got nothing. So now you have two different narratives. Who do you believe? Well, if you're watching Fox News, all you're going to do is hear what the insinuations by Republicans. You're not going to hear what Dan Goldman said. Dan Goldman's like, dude, you're full of shit. Your own guy says it, you know. So, so everyone's like, well, what's the truth? What's the truth? Release the transcripts. You Republicans, you've been hiding it forever, using it to build up insinuations. Why don't you release the transcript so we can all see what they actually said? So finally, they release the transcripts. When do they release it? At the same time Donald Trump is being arraigned for his crimes in D.C. Why would they do that? Because they use that's called, it's like part of information warfare. You can cover up one bad thing with another thing. They did it to Hillary Clinton. That was like the whole point of the Hillary Clinton hack. Remember when Donald Trump was a candidate and the Access Hollywood tape came out in which he said, grab him by the pussy. That's a scandal. It was a huge scandal. Immediately when that happened, the Russians released John Podesta's emails. So the story was no longer about Donald Trump saying, grab them by the pussy. The story was about John Podesta's emails. And what conspiracy can we make out of it? The media played right into it. They played right into it. It was ridiculous. But that's what they do. That's what they're doing. So that was the whole reason why they waited until the moment some bad news came out to release that, the moment a big story came out, in order to release the transcripts. So it would get buried under the big story. The big story was Donald Trump's being arraigned. Big deal, dude. Big deal. But it was a media sensation, and everyone forgot about the transcript in which their own Republicans' own witnesses debunked their conspiracy theory. But the whole point was to create the insinuation and then let Fox News air that insinuation out a whole bunch to their audience before you finally release the transcripts to prove that you're full of shit. But they're never going to hear that you're full of shit. All they're going to do is be left with that impression that there was some nefarious stuff going on. That's all they're going to be left with, that impression. That's how it works. Hey, look, my system hasn't fucking crashed. My hotspot temperature is at 89 degrees, man. But the thing is that it's not supposed to throttle until it hits like 110. So lots of headroom. My CPU is at like 50 degrees. My CPU is chilling, cold chilling. If I start playing, it's gonna ramp up. But like, how much? Not much. 56, 57 maybe. And I'm getting, like okay frames. It's not like amazing 120, but it's not bad. And it's not crashing, right? Not crashing. Don't crash, don't crash. Don't crash and corrupt my chunks. Don't corrupt my chunks, bro. All right. Do. So, using the power of insinuation, they're doing all sorts of shit to like trick their audience. You got to see through that shit, right? You got to see through the media elite. The media elite are projecting for the audience a certain picture, but it's not true. You got to be able to see through it. All right. Yeah, that Goldman guy is awesome. Okay, I forget. That's something else. All right, never mind. Go away. You're confusing me. Nope, wrong one. All right. So, what I'm saying is that there's no connection whatsoever to Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Oh my God. It's not there. But Republicans want to insinuate that there is something and then use that insinuation to justify a investigation into Joe Biden. But all it is a fishing expedition, just like they did to Clinton. Just how Clinton started as a real estate thing, it wasn't real. It was a bad faith. They didn't really care about the thing. All they wanted to do was find something, find anything. If it wasn't the real estate, they'd find something else. That's all it was. And the same thing with Joe Biden. They want to weaponize government to go after the political opponents. And that's not right. It wasn't right when LBJ did it, and it's not right for us to do it. So, like, oh shit. Because if you do it anyways, if you become corrupt, then you lose all your power. You've lost all your justification. You lost all your influence. No one's gonna care because it's not gonna, your words aren't gonna match your deeds. So here, look at this. Menendez. So here's the deal. September 24th, 2023. Rep. Don Bayer, co-founder of Egypt Human Rights Council and longtime critic of the Sisi regime's human rights violations, today issued the following statement on Senator Robert J. Menendez. A jury will decide whether Senator Menendez committed federal crimes that can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but the preponderance of evidence presented in the indictment makes it impossible for him to continue serving in the U.S. Senate, and I urge him to resign. I further urge the administration and my colleagues in Congress and respond forcefully to the covert Egyptian campaign to thwart American foreign policy aims detailed in the indictment. So, the indictment alleges that a person who acted as a cutout between the Sisi regime and Menendez bribed the senator to use his position as leader of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to weaken Americans' response to human rights violations in Egypt. Those violations include the mass detentions and imprisonment of dissidents, including American citizens, without trial, as well as torture, custody deaths, and extrajudicial killings. Congress imposed lethal restrictions on military assistance to Egypt, conditioning aid on its human rights record. The Justice Department alleges Egypt's intelligence and military took part in a scheme that saw payments of bribes to ensure U.S. military assistance and arms sales continued despite congressional objections to Egypt's abysmal record of repression. These acts demand response. As one of those whose efforts the Egyptian regime and Senator Menendez allegedly tried to thwart, I urge my colleagues and the administration to focus on Egypt's role in what clearly an intelligence operation. The Egyptian scheme that focused on Senator Menendez is part of a larger transnational influence campaign that also includes spying and harassing critics of the Sisi regime on American soil. The nature of this scheme shows that the Sisi regime is deeply sensitive to U.S. assistance and that American leverage can advance the cause of human rights. The administration should take that fact and the context above into account and make it final determination of assistance for fiscal year 2024. Bayer recently urged the administration to significantly increase the amount of military assistance withheld from Egypt for fiscal year 2024 in response to ongoing human rights violations by the Sisi regime. A final decision is expected soon. What is that saying? What is all that saying? Senator Menendez, let me give you context. Senator Menendez is a senator from New York. Senator, we have a very, very precariously balanced Senate at this very moment. The Democrats only hold power because Sinema agrees with the Democrats some of the times, and Senator Manchin hasn't formally turned himself independent. It still votes for with sometimes with the Democrats. And then even then it's 50-50. So then the vice president has to come in and be the tiebreaker. And that means it's Kamala Harris. So it goes to Democrats. So it's very, very, very precariously controlled by the Democrats. And if they lose Senator Menendez, they no longer control the Senate. It's controlled by Republicans. So it's gonna like, yeah, gum things up. So it's in the so on the surface, in terms of raw power, it behooves the Democrats to protect Senator Menendez, even though he's a criminal, even though he's a bad guy, even though he was bribed, he's corrupt. Basically, the CC government in Egypt wants the goods from USA. It wants foreign aid. So you got to understand, foreign aid, it gets a bad rap, but foreign aid is just a fucking tiny percentage of the US federal budget. It's like 1% of the whole federal budget. However, the amount of leverage we get out of that foreign aid is immeasurable. It's insane, the amount of leverage we get. It's soft power. Like, you got to understand, all power is not necessarily fucking bullets and troops and tanks and planes. That's hard power. Yeah, sure, that's hard power, but it's not always optimal to exercise hard power. It's like there's other forms of power that you can use, and that's called soft power. Diplomacy, influence, leverage. Foreign aid, money that goes to foreign governments, is that soft power. It is what allows us to get favorable behavior out of governments that wouldn't normally be friends with the United States. They wouldn't normally give a flip about the United States, but they want that foreign aid, so they'll do stuff, So for a long time, the Democrats are like, look, you can't, and the Americans are like, look, we're not going to give you foreign aid if you're going to fucking imprison your journalists and your foreign and your political opponents. We're not going to help you out if people are dying under government custody. That you're not democratic. That's bad. That's bad shit. So if you want this foreign aid from the USA, you're going to clean up your shit. Right? So, okay. So the CC government's like, fine. That's what I'll do. Well, what actually happened was no. No, they didn't clean up their shit. The CC government kept imprisoning journalists, kept killing people they had in their custody, kept intimidating the political rivals. And so USA is like, well, dude, if you're not going to do your end of the bargain, we're not going to do our end of the bargain. However, Senator Menendez was the chair of that committee that dealt with that shit. Unbeknownst to the United States, on the down low, the Egyptian CC government was like, hey, Senator Menendez, we know you're a super powerful guy on that committee. And we know that you're able to, like, on the super balanced, like, super balanced Senate, that you wield a lot of power, and that you're really, really important about how this thing goes. We really want this foreign aid to come through. Like, let us give you a bunch of money to show us how important we think you are. That's illegal, dude. That's illegal. You can't be doing that. You can't be bribing people. But Senator Menendez was like, okay, buddy. Sure, Egyptian evil regime. Sure, I'll take your bribe. And then I'll use my power as Senate chair, as the chair of that committee, to make sure that you get your foreign aid. You'll get your foreign aid. Even though you're not coming through with your side of the deal, you gave me a bribe, so I'm going to make sure you get your foreign aid. Well, the Department of Justice caught wind of this, got all the evidence necessary to prove that this was going down, and then it was like, ta-da! Indictment. Like, what does that mean, dude? What does that mean? Like, oh wait, shit, an indictment. What does that mean? Well, let's look at what happened when the last congressperson was indicted. That's George Santos. In the House, George Santos was indicted by somebody. I forget, some Justice Department indicted him. And not only was he indicted, he was jailed. Dude was sitting in jail. Because why was dude sitting in jail? Why is dude sitting in jail? Because the bail to get him out was $500,000. Like a fuck ton of money. But somehow, some way, I don't know, nobody knows how, right? It was a secret. It was a secret for a long time. Somehow, George Santos made bail and got out on bail after he was indicted and imprisoned. And because he's out on bail, he's able to vote in the House. What does he vote for? He votes for Senator Kevin McCarthy to become the Speaker of the House. That's what he votes for. Okay. Did the Republicans vote to expel George Santos because he's an indicted criminal out on bail? No, dude. They love him. In fact, Kevin McCarthy needed him to be able to vote in order for Kevin McCarthy to be on bail, to be Speaker of the House. So Kevin McCarthy was very, very, very motivated to make sure that George Santos was able to vote, even though he's an indicted criminal out in bail. So if you look at the Republicans, if you try to follow the example of the Republicans, it doesn't matter if you're an indicted criminal. All they want you for is power. But think about it. What kind of piece of shit defines themselves by their enemy? That's terrible. That gives your enemy a shit ton of power. That means you only have to be barely above your enemy in order to be able to say, oh yeah, at least I'm better than you. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm telling you now, that's bullshit. Anybody who lets themselves be defined by their enemy's conduct is full of shit. You got to be able to set your own standard. That doesn't depend upon your enemy's behavior. It doesn't matter if they're what they do. What they do doesn't define who you are. Understanding that, look at the distinction in response between what the Democrats do and what the Republicans do. We can already get an idea of what the Democrats would do. Because why? This isn't the first time something weird happened with the Democratic senator. A while ago, there was a guy named Al Franken who was a comedian. Really successful comedian for a long time. He was great. He's great, right? Great comedian. And he stopped being a comedian. What the hell? Oh, what are you doing in here, zombie? And look at this awesome setup I have. The zombie, not at all interested in any of the villagers. Not at all interested. Don't care. He doesn't care about the villagers. You would think, oh look, easy peasy, right? Easy way to get the village, like easy meal. Why doesn't he go for the villagers? Because of secret Minecraft logic. These trapdoors look like solid blocks to him. So according to him, he can't reach them. He won't even try. He won't even try. All right. Al Franken was a guy who was a senator. And then one day, a picture came out. A picture of him back in the day before he was a senator, back when he was a comedian. And dude had flown out to Iraq to do a special show for the troops. You know how, I don't know if you know, I don't know. Like the government will pay for, there's no entertainment for Americans out in Iraq. It's Iraq. there's nothing, like you're gonna listen to like if you don't bring it there, if you don't bring your own stuff, what you're gonna listen to is Iraqi music and Iraqi stuff, and like if you can even get it because you're out in the desert, middle of nowhere. So in order to get any kind of American culture, any kind of American entertainment, you have to bring it there yourself. Or the government will supply it. The government will literally pay and transport into a war zone comedians and entertainers from America to entertain the troops. And Al Franken was one of those guys, dude. He went out there to Iraq to entertain the troops. And on the way back, or maybe they're back, I don't know. It was, this is the 90s. This isn't like in the aughts. This isn't in the 2020s. This isn't modern times. This was in the 90s, back in the day. And he did a pose for the camera where he's pretending to go honk honk on a female troop who was like passed out sleeping on the plane. He wasn't actually touching her, right? He wasn't actually violating, it might be violating to be in that pose, to do that to her. Like, if I go up to a woman at a cash register and I go like that, but not actually touch her, it would be violation. I would think that's, it would be it wouldn't be the same kind of violation as touching her, but like, I'm definitely creepy. That's definitely creepy. But this is back in the 90s, right? And this is in the context of Al Franken acting as comedic relief for the troops. But even then, even in that context, even with that context, even given that, the Democrats forced Al Franken to resign. They made him leave. Even though it disadvantaged the Democrats still forced Al Franken to leave. So we can expect the Democrats to force Menendez to leave based on the history of what happened before. It's based on history. The last time a guy was even it wasn't even bad, I mean, like, I guess it's bad, right? I guess it's bad to do that pose to a woman. Like it's bad. Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Is it bad enough to like lose your seat in Congress? That's when it gets iffy, especially when you're working in the context of a comedian. Like, your whole point is to be funny. And sometimes you miss. I don't know. And this is the 80s. It's not like it was like modern times. I don't know if the consciousness was as spread out as it was. Like, I'm aware of it, but like, I had to go through some shit to become aware of it. Yeah, okay. So, anyways, they Republicans, based on the past, if a person would give them power, they won't do anything. So we look at George Santos, and that's one example. But we could look at even a more recent example. Recently, Lorena Bobbitt, not Lorena Bobbitt. Bobbitt. No. Lauren Boebert was kicked out of a theater production because she was vaping inside the theater, inside the audience while the thing was going on, and she was like groping her date, dude. She was giving him like heavy petting. And he was fondling her breasts or something. Like, totally outrageous stuff, right? Totally outrageous. Not just posing ha funny for a picture, but in public, fucking groping each other and being drunk and like vaping, like when they're not supposed to vape. Like, totally disregarding the rules and then making a scene as they get kicked out. Like, it's terrible. But do you think it's not illegal? I guess. Are they gonna, like, just like it wasn't illegal for Al Franken to have that picture? But do you think the Republicans are gonna like kick out Lorena Bobbitt? Dude, what's her name? Lauren Boebert. Are they gonna kick out Boebert? Are they gonna kick her out? No, dude, because Republicans have a different standard than Democrats. Do you see the distinction? I'm not making shit up, right? It's not. What I say is true. And look, my computer hasn't crashed. Third time's a charm. So, to get back to this point, Republicans get destroyed by the truth. So what they try to do is something called false equivalence. They try to take two things that are not the same and then say they're the same thing. That's why they're trying to impeach Joe Biden. They don't have any actual proof. There's nothing actually there, but they want to say that Joe Biden is just as corrupt as Donald Trump. They want to say these two things are the same, even though there's no evidence of that. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. What there is evidence of is the incompetence of Republicans. The incompetence of Republicans. They are unable to keep the government open. They can't do it. Oh, wait, hold on. Quote, actually not quote, there's little optimism in most quarters for a last-minute rescue plan, and Republicans are feeling a keen sense of apprehension that their party will suffer badly should a shutdown transpire. Quote, we always get the blame, said Mike Simpson, Republican Idaho, a senior appropriator. Name one time that we've shut the government down and we haven't gotten the blame. Right? Every time Republicans shut down the government, it's always the Republicans who do it. They're not able to keep the government open, and they're not able to pass a budget. The last time they were not able to pass a budget, the United States was downgraded. Its credit rating was downgraded, citing political instability. These Republicans are extremists. They don't use the democratic process to advance their agenda. They use hostage-taking measures, which is indicative of an unstable political regime. Only in an unstable political regime does one party resort to hostage measures instead of the political process. Yay, no crashing. Yay! Okay. Here's the demands that House Republicans want in order to keep the government open. Because remember, the House Republicans want to cut all the funding. So this is what we'll lose. We'll have 800 fewer Customs and Border Protection agents on the border. We'll have 500 or 50,000 pounds of cocaine and 300 pounds of fentanyl and 700 pounds of heroin and more than 6,000 pounds of methamphetamines that will be allowed into our country because we have these 800 fewer border patrol agents. This is the demands that Republicans want in order to keep the government open. They demand that the Biden administration let more drugs into the country. 11,000 children, 110,000 children would lose access to Head Start slots because that's a federal program, and that's just going to get killed if the Republicans kill the government or shut down the government. They lose access to child care. Seniors lose access to Meals on Wheels. People in WIC will lose their deal. We'll have 40,000 fewer teachers, aides, and other key staff across the country. Man, my mom was a teacher's aide. The only reason why I turned out even half as good as I did was because my mom had a job at a rich school district. And she leveraged that to get me an education in the rich school district instead of where I lived, which had low property taxes because it was industrial. And so because school districts are funded by property tax, they're inherently unequal. They inherently reproduce they inherently reproduce disproportionate academic outcomes, and they reproduce economic disparities. If your education system depends on your on your local property taxes and you live in a poor neighborhood, that means your schools are going to get underfunded and you're going to have like less of a good education, which means you're not going to have as many economic opportunities, which means your neighborhood's going to stay poor. I mean, that's what I mean. So you need to, like, oh man. So you need the federal government in order to alleviate the disparity. That's the whole reason why the federal government has these programs like Head Start and Meals on Wheels and WIC and shit like that, because it's trying to alleviate the disparity. It's trying to like otherwise poor kids wouldn't eat. Like I ate fucking school provided lunch. I got tickets to eat lunch. Otherwise I wouldn't have lunch or breakfast. For some kids, that's the only meal they get. That's the only meal they can eat, is the one they eat at school. So it's super important, and Republicans want to get rid of it. They want to shut down government to get what? Their hostage demands met. They can't do it through legitimate means, so they resort to hostage taking in order to get their policies. Man, Republicans are bad people. I'm telling you. I'm not being like excessively harsh. I'm telling you the truth. So yeah, dude, they want to kick out Menendez. Democrats are calling for Menendez to get kicked out. And he should get kicked out. He's a criminal, dude. He would betray the United States for his own personal gain. Of course you should kick him out. How could we prosecute? How could I be angry at Donald Trump and not be angry at Menendez? They did the same thing. Donald Trump changed U.S. foreign policy in order to help foreign governments like China and Russia for his own personal gain. Not because it helped the United States, but because it helped Donald Trump. If I'm going to call out Donald Trump for his bullshit, I have to call out Menendez for his bullshit. It's required. If it's true, if something is true, it's true all the way through. Okay, so yeah, fucking get that guy. What else do we got here? Menendez 2. Nazi reveals plan. Charlie Kirk, that guy's a Nazi. So, and he gets a lot of. Remember, I was telling you about how Republicans, their enemy is truth. And they do a lot of projection. That's how come you know they're evil, because they know enough to know what the truth is, and on purpose they flip it on around. So Charlie Kirk is one of those super evil guys. So he's telling his audience, everything you are witnessing is a plan. Quote, 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 remember the Q plan? Like, they all love insinuation. They all want to pretend it's a conspiracy, because that's how they control their people. That they have a super clear vision that only they can see, and everyone else just has to trust in the plan. So everything you're witnessing is a plan to destabilize, destroy, and transition the America you grew up in. So in a way, he's telling the truth. That is the idea for the Republicans and for white supremacists. They want to destroy the American government and replace it with authoritarianism, where democracy doesn't matter. That's what they want. So, but he's trying to pin that on the other side. He's being purposely ambiguous, you see? If you try to call him out on it, if you try to make him define who has this plan, he won't tell you. It's a nudge, nudge, wink, wink kind of thing. It's a dog whistle. So, but he's a Nazi, because that's the kind of communication techniques that Nazis and racists use. That's a dog whistle. Perfect example. Okay. What else do I got here? See, the comparison with Trump and Clinton is instructive. Because of media incompetence, there's more support for impeaching Biden because there is no evidence than there was for Trump with abundant evidence. So in other words, the poll is designed to the whole point is to create the appearance. There's no actual proof, but they create the appearance that Biden and Trump are equivalent, even though they're not. And the media just plays along with it because they sell more newspapers with a horse race. Uncharacteristically, WAPO, Washington Post, reported that there's no evidence of wrongdoing in the first 10 paragraphs of a story in paragraph 6. Imagine if that's how Washington Post normally reported this, instead of the both sides tripe they normally offer. So what is the way they would normally report this? A similar question was asked about the recently launched impeachment inquiry aimed at Biden by House Republicans, despite the absence of direct evidence of an impeachable offense by the president. That's key. That's the number one thing they should run with. But did Washington Post run with that idea? Did they run with the thing that's saying, number one thing, understand there's no impeachable evidence against Joe Biden. There's no impeachable evidence against Joe Biden. There's nothing there. No impeachable evidence of Joe Biden, despite the fact that there's no impeachable evidence against Joe Biden. House Republicans are pushing ahead with an impeachment inquiry. Anyways, they have no evidence, but they're doing it anyways. What do you think about that? Imagine if they had conducted the poll that way. It would totally change the outcome of the poll, right? It would totally change the outcome of the poll. Instead, Washington Post, on purpose, obscured that fact into paragraph 6. Way, way, way deep inside. Instead, Washington Post, this guy, reported that maybe they're the same thing. What if they're the same thing? Even though they're not. We have lots of evidence that Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government. We have lots of it. We have tons of it. In fact, he's indicted. He has multiple indictments against him. On the other hand, you have zero evidence, zero indictments, zero anything against Joe Biden. Why would you even do this? Because you're fishing for something. You're trying to weaponize the government to go find something. Imagine if they did this against a private citizen. Oh, wait, they did. They did it against Hunter Biden. Like, why don't they do this against other government officials? Like, Jared Kushner, who actually used his influence as in the government to make personal deals for himself and his family. Because Republicans don't actually care. They only care about power. Anyways, back to this. I get it. Empty Wheel says, I get it. If you're being paid to be a journalist and you've been duped by Kevin McCarthy for 8 weeks into reporting process details about impeachment without reporting that there's no evidence of wrongdoing, you don't want to admit that you're stupid. So the idea is there's this guy. He's like a data mule. This reporter. Remember, Kevin McCarthy doesn't have any evidence of anything wrong by Joe Biden. But that's not what he cares about. What he cares about is creating the insinuation that there's something wrong. All he cares about is the insinuation, but he can't do it by himself. McCarthy can talk all he wants, but he needs someone in the media to help him out by amplifying it. That's this reporter. For 8 weeks, this reporter has been talking about what steps Kevin McCarthy has been taking in order to impeach Joe Biden, without mentioning the fact that there's nothing to impeach Joe Biden about. Do you see what I mean? It's entirely projection, and it was insinuation hyped up by the mainstream media in order to create the appearance of false equivalence, in order to say that Joe Biden is just as corrupt as Donald Trump. And it works because now they have a poll that shows the effect of their propaganda attack. It's not just me talking. We have empirical evidence that it works to affect Americans' ideas of what's happening. Americans literally don't know that Joe Biden hasn't done anything. Why? Because the media plays into the idea of both sidesism so they can sell a horse race and get more eyeballs glued to make more money from advertisers. It doesn't matter if these lies are affecting democracy, because they're not in the business of defending democracy. They're in the business of making money. It's not a conspiracy, it's just the logic of it. Finally. But because so many people who purport to be journalists were stupid enough to be fooled into reporting Kevin McCarthy's process statements, voters literally don't know that this is an impeachment because there is no evidence of wrongdoing. People literally don't know that the reason Kevin McCarthy is doing the impeachment proceeding is because he doesn't have any evidence and he's looking for it. They literally don't know this because reporters won't report it because they make more money selling a horse race and making it both sides. They need to like invent a scandal to report on. Otherwise, it's just boring old stuff, right? The best government is invisible. When it's working, you don't even see it. Like that's the great, like, yeah, that's the way it should be. It should work so good that you don't even notice it. You don't even see it. And then that makes it hard to purport good governance because you don't see the accidents that don't happen. You don't see it. You only see the accidents when they do happen. You don't see them when they don't happen. If because that of good regulation. And that's good governance. And it's invisible. You don't even see it. It's so good you don't even see it. That's the way it should be. But Americans have to know, right? They got to know. They got to know that the reason why Kevin McCarthy is opening an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden is because he doesn't have any evidence, so he's looking for it. He's got to go fishing. If he did, he would tell everyone what it is, but he doesn't. He's tricking his people, and it's like information warfare. I keep telling you, man. Sinead O'Connor, she's a prophet. Sinead O'Connor, she knows what was going on, and what she was doing was repeating the words of Bob Marley, who was a prophet. And what did he say? Everywhere is war. Like everything is war. If you either acquiesce to it and let it be, or you challenge it. But when you challenge it, you create conflict. Imagine the Matrix, right? In the Matrix, everything is cool until somebody does something against the rules. Then agents come. Agents aren't even people. Agents are just programs. What's a program? Agents are just information. Information literally takes over the physical body of a human being in order to reassert the normal way of being, the quote normal way of being enforced by the Matrix. And when that problem has been when normalcy quote has been reachieved, through violence or some other ways, then the agent leaves the human, and the human just goes about normally, not even aware that it happened, not even aware that they were used by the Matrix in order to enforce control. They're not even aware of it. And if you tell them, they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. So information is one of the layers of warfare, and it's a layer that Americans totally don't know about they don't know, they know nothing about it because they've never been taught it. Russians know it instinctively because it's used against them all the time. So they're Russians are very, very cynical people. They were the first guinea pigs that it was used on before they exported the process to other people. They break the Russian mind before they broke everyone else's. But that's what's going on, right? And you want to say, well, no, that's not, that's not cool. That's not cool. We're just civilians. We have nothing to do with the military. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to the Russians. Do you remember what they're shooting at right now? They're using their missiles to blow up residential buildings, to kill kids. Do you think they fucking care? They don't care that Americans don't know anything about that. Their information is a field of warfare. They don't care if Americans are ignorant of it. They're going to use it anyways. Against the Americans. They're going to use it against the Americans. And Fox News is a conduit for that kind of disinformation. And you see what it happens, right? You see the effects of it. People will be more inclined to support Donald Trump if they think he's the same, if they think Joe Biden is the same as Donald Trump. That's what they think. That's what they'll believe. That's the frame they're trying to create through media. Menendez, Mike. So remember, like, it's not just me talking shit. They were planning, the Donald Trump and his associates were planning on overthrowing the government before January 6th. It was a months-long process. I'm going to show you a video of Mike Pompeo, who is Secretary of State. I forget what role he was. He was like lifted up real quick through the ranks to become like Donald Trump's like man, dude. And after the election already happened, Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump had lost. After that already happened, Mike Pompeo was asked straight up by a reporter, "Hey, dude, will there be a peaceful transfer of power? Because your side hasn't like reached out to the incoming Biden administration to transfer power. Like, what's going on?" So he was asked straight up. Check this out. Watch.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
What? He didn't answer the question at all. The question was, you guys haven't contacted the Biden administration. Do you think that's going to hamper the smooth transition? And Pompeo said there's going to be a smooth transition to a second Trump term. But wait a minute, you guys just lost the fucking election. You guys lost the election. There isn't going to be a second Trump term, dude. You lost the election. You were asked why about you guys purposely hampering the transition of power, and you said straight up, we're going on to a second Trump term. We're going to disregard the Democratic election, and we're going to seize power. He fucking said it straight up. Not me. It's not me saying it, dude. It's not some fucking reporter saying it. It's not being reported in the news. You're hearing it straight from Donald Trump's dude, Mike Pompeo. Telling you straight up, this is a fucking coup. Straight up, he's telling you it's a coup. Straight up. That's what he's telling you. Let's go back and listen again carefully.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
So, like, are you guys going to, like, cooperate? Is what he's saying. Are you going to cooperate? And at what point does your delay start hampering the smooth transition of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden? At what point does this disrupt the smooth transition of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
What? What? At what point does the delay between the Trump administration in contacting the Biden team going to hamper the transition of power? Mike Pompeo answers, we will transition into a second Trump term. He's straight up telling you that this is a coup. Do you hear it? It's clear as day. It's clear as day.
Right? We're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes.
When he says the world is watching, what he means is Putin's watching. Because Putin is allied with Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Vladimir Putin. He only took power in 2016 because of the help of Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump has never legitimately won an election. He never legitimately won an election. So his dude is telling you that they're prepared to hold on to power despite the fact that they lost the election. And that the whole world is watching, which means Vladimir Putin is watching what we do.
When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected.
The process was already complete. The election had already happened. But he's alluding to the possibility of using fake electors in order to disrupt the January 6th thing. He knows. This is like fucking November. This is November, and dude already knows about what's going to happen on January 6th.
There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly.
Right? He knows, yeah, the Constitution lays it out pretty clearly, and you guys are fucking it up. He knows it. That's why he had that nervous chuckle in the middle of it, because he fucking knows that he's doing a coup. He told everyone he's doing a coup.
The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary.
When he says the world, he means Vladimir Putin. Remember you gotta understand how white supremacists think. The only people that matter to white supremacists are white supremacists. And really, the only people that matter are the elites, because the non-elite white supremacists can be sacrificed for the good of the elites, of the white supremacist elites, the Nazi elites. So understand, right? I already went over this with Elon Musk. We dissected Elon Musk's statement. Understand that when they talk about the world, he means just the elites, like him and Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Not the rest of you people, not me, not you, not your MAGA trailer park friend. Dude, he doesn't care about them. All he cares about is himself and his fellow elites.
To make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a mid-afternoon, will also be successful.
The thing is that he never answered the question, because he was fully aware that there was going to be a coup, and he wanted to disregard democracy. Mike Pompeo, guys. There's video evidence of it. It's not me talking shit. It's actually there. Mike Pompeo surrenders to the Taliban. He was Secretary of State, see? Met with Taliban political deputy Mullah Brendar to welcome the launch of Afghan peace negotiations. The Taliban must seize this opportunity to forge a political settlement and reach a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire to end 40 years of war. This effort must be Afghan-led. That's Mike Pompeo on September 11th, because it was September 12th on his time, but September 11th on our time when he made it. So on September 11th, 2020, Mike Pompeo, on behalf of the Trump administration, surrendered to the Taliban. And he set the withdrawal date like a few months after the presidential election And then he never did anything to prepare the military to leave Afghanistan. He never did anything. He never did anything. He was going to leave the military stranded in Afghanistan. That's why Joe Biden had to postpone it. It was supposed to happen in March, but Joe Biden's like, shit, dude, nothing's been done. Nothing's been done. No plan, no nothing. So wait, let me take care of this real quick. Give me 6 months. Or however long it took. I don't remember how much time it took. But yeah. So it's super clear, guys. It's not me talking shit. It's actually there. And you got to understand, they're actually Nazis. Check this out. These are not Nazis, I think, in Staten Island.
Welcome! You're not welcome!
You're not welcome? Migrants? Are you saying that immigrants to the United States are not welcome? What? Wait, are you in New York? Are you in New York and saying immigrants aren't welcome? Look what they're doing, dude. So immigrants, this is temporary immigrant housing. Temporary immigrant housing. And these Nazis show up to yell hate and to flash lights in their windows. I guess to cause epilepsy or to cause disruption for them so they can't sleep. So these Nazis are showing up in New York to mess with immigrants. That anti-American, right? That's anti-American behavior. They want to call themselves American, but they're acting like anti-Americans. But that's the weird thing. The enemies of America love to drape themselves in the colors of America to make it hard to distinguish between the two. They love it. They love to drape themselves in the flag. You are illegal? Do I want to even start about any of American history? Holy shit. Let's ask the Native Americans about who's legal. Holy shit, dude. What's this about glass houses, right? Fuck you to immigrants. What a New York welcome, huh? Wasn't New York City built by immigrants? What are you doing, man? Immigrants are a source of our greatness. Do you even know what the Statue of Liberty is about? Do you know that poem? What is that poem? I want to read that poem now. I want the whole thing. There's the story. The New Colossus. Here, I'm going to clip it. To be anti-immigrant is to be anti-American. The New Colossus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here, at our sea-washed sunset gates, shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me You're tired. You're poor. Your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Fucking Nazis. Fuck you guys. What a great poem. It encapsulates, I think, one of the great aspects of the United States. Sure, maybe in the beginning, there was a group of conquerors who came from Europe with the same conquering idea to take what was not theirs and to reshape it into their image. It was hubris. And that started it. Perhaps that's true. But what's also true is that they used the fire of reason to do it. They didn't use an abstract God. They used the idea that all humans, possess the capacity for reason. And based on this ability to exercise reason, we have these human rights that demand that we have liberty and justice. That it's our inherent right by virtue of this ability to be human and to reason, that we have these human rights and that we are not subject to the authority of the king, but instead are able to govern ourselves. So these conquerors came and threw off their chains from the old world with the fires of reason. However, by utilizing the fires of reason in a universal fashion that wasn't limited by divine preference or whatever, it wasn't limited to just the king. It was limited. It was accessible by anyone who had the faculty of reason, which meant all humans. They didn't intend to mean all humans. They only meant themselves, the white male landowning class. Important that you be landowning. If you didn't own land, you were like worthless. You didn't even get a vote. If you didn't own land, you didn't even get a vote. That ensured that the power was kept in the hands of the few, the aristocracy, the landed gentry. And then they said, no, you can't do that. It has to be all men get to vote, not just landowning men, all men. And they said, fine, we'll compromise with you. But the problem was they used the fire of reason to do this. And the fire of reason isn't limited to white landowning men. The fire of reason expands to all humans. All humans. And it wasn't like they weren't the first to discover the fire of reason. Like Americans can trace back their cultural idea to the ancient Greeks. And when they discovered the idea of reason and the body politic and the state and the relationship of humans to the state, to the deities, to the natural world, to themselves, to one another, to the external world, to the internal world, to all of that stuff. We trace it back to there. So by doing so, now you've created a basis for the universal emancipation of humankind. Uh-oh. Not what you intended, but you did it, right? Because now this applies to everyone, not just rich landowning males. It wasn't intended to be that way, but that's what ends up happening. And so it's a struggle. The American process, the American story is a story between a struggle between the forces of the universalization of human rights and the forces of authoritarianism that want to maintain a preference that contains the power to just the elite. That's the entire American story. Who's going to control it? Who's going to control this thing? And remember, if you're on the side of universal rights, then you're going to welcome immigrants, because like they have just as much right to be here as our founding fathers did. Which is, if our founding fathers had the right to escape oppression, and to come here to escape oppression, so do these immigrants, so do these migrants. They have the same right. By denying immigrants the right to come to the United States, you're denying the right of your forefathers to be here, and you're delegitimizing yourself. To be an American, you have to welcome all immigrants, everyone. Yeah, you don't want criminals, of course. All right, if you're gonna come in and say I'm gonna do bad things, yeah, we don't want you. but if you don't speak English and you're brown, that's not gonna be a problem. You're welcome here. You're welcome to come. So those forces are real, right? Those forces are aligned with Republicans. Those dirty Nazis that were harassing the migrants, that's real. That's real. And those people vote for Republicans. Birds of a feather flock together. Remember, it's not the problems that the Nazis are complaining about. It's not the fault of the migrants. The migrants have no power. They have zero power. They have nothing. Nothing. Like, if it were so easy, why haven't you done it? So, the migrants have no power of what's going on in the United States. So to blame them for it is like beyond stupid. It's something that Nazis do in order to create a scapegoat. So understand, you aren't poor because another poor person came to your country. You're poor because the rich people exploit you for your labor. You're poor because Elon Musk isn't taxed at an appropriate rate. And not just Elon Musk, but all of the American oligarchs. None of them are taxed at an appropriate rate. They shouldn't even exist, to be honest. If this was a just country, they wouldn't exist. They wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't have homeless people. They're combined. Do you understand the way the material dialectic works out? Like, okay, man, like this isn't foolproof, right? But check it out. There's a fallacy in looking at the world in terms of duality and thinking that the dualities are separate. You start to, you see duality and you believe that duality is the nature of reality, and that there's inherently a dual nature to reality, inherently, that you can't get past. That's what you believe because all your senses tell you that. Like, you only know the world through opposites, so you believe, well, that must be the way it is. Because I can only understand things in terms of opposite, and I think the opposites are separate, that's how I believe everything is. But that's not the way it really is. Things that are opposite only appear like they appear to be opposite, and they appear to be separate, but in actuality they are the same thing. They're connected. They're different aspects of the same thing. It's the thing is the thing regardless of which aspect you see. The which aspect is superficial. But don't get tricked into thinking that the two aspects are separate. Hot is not separate from cold. It's not distinct from. They're connected on a different layer. So that's all of reality. All of reality is apparent dualities that appear to be contradictions that are resolved on a higher level once you understand their nature. So understand, and that's like everything, right? White and black, hot and cold, good and bad. Like, you want to think they're separate. You want to think good is separate from evil, but they're actually really closely connected. Good and evil is really, really closely connected, even though they appear to be separate. They're higher aspects of the same thing. Okay. Or they're just aspects of the same thing, like morality. I don't know how to describe that. Ethics. I don't know. So good and bad, hot and cold, hard and soft, all that stuff is dualities. It's just apparently they're separate, but actually they're connected. And by having more of one, you automatically have more of the other. So you have hard, right? The hardness, the idea of hardness, right? Well, you could have like mushy hard, like mud, right? It's kind of mushy, like clay. You could have like a little bit firmer, like clay. You can kind of mold it, or you could have it like a little bit harder, like dirt, like compacted dirt, or you get to like concrete, or metal, or diamond hardness, right? But you can only know diamond hardness like by knowing the opposite of diamond hardness, which would be like incredible softness. Like how soft can get like watery, like water accepts everything. That's why it's like the Bruce Lee loved water, because he said water's, what did Bruce Lee say? Water, maybe it's not even Bruce Lee, maybe it's even older, but it's water is the softest thing, but it destroys the hardest stuff. It's soft because it accepts everything, but over time it can destroy a mountain. Give it enough time, water will destroy a mountain. Be like water. Be soft like water. Okay. Anyways, rich and poor. The only reason that Elon Musk can exist is because he stands atop a pile of amassed wealth. Where did that wealth come from? Elon Musk didn't make that wealth himself. He did not pour in the hours necessary to amass all that wealth. It had to come from somewhere. The only place it could have come from is the workers he employs. That wealth that he stands on top of is the amount of wealth he did not pay his employees. All that wealth belongs to his workers, because they're the ones who made it. But Elon Musk took a giant chunk out of it and kept it for himself. That's how come Elon Musk exists. And it's not just his workers, right? Because by devaluing the labor of his workers, he devalues the labors of all workers. So that, to the point that people can work and still be homeless. They'll work full time and still be homeless. They can't afford to live. They have to live in their cars or on someone's couch or in a weekly motel. Like, they can't make it. And so they're homeless, right? So the only way Elon Musk exists as a billionaire is because we have all these homeless people. The fact that Elon Musk exists makes the homeless people. If you want to solve homelessness, you have to get rid of billionaires like Elon Musk. If you didn't have billionaires, that wealth would have to go somewhere. Where would it go? Back into the hands of the people who made it, the workers. Then you wouldn't have homeless people. Or if you did, you'd have fewer of them. Utah solved its homeless vet population. Homeless people, there are veterans who are homeless. Utah solved it. You know how they solved it? They just gave the veterans an apartment. They're like, here, veteran, have an apartment. Ta-da! It was done. Homelessness dropped to like 99%. That's how they did it. And it ended up being cheaper for them to do that than it was to have homeless people and homeless vets, and then go send out people to go look for your homeless vet, and then when you find your homeless vet, see that the homeless vet didn't keep up on the medicine regime. Why not, homeless vet? Because you're fucking homeless, and it's hard to do anything when you're homeless. Your shit's getting stolen all the time. You're always getting shuffled from one place to the other. It's fucking cold. You're getting rained on. It's super hot. Like, your shit's getting stolen. You're always moving and misplacing stuff. Like, it's fucking hard to be homeless. So yeah, it's shitty that, yeah, sorry if they're not keeping up on their medicine regime. Sorry if they're not calling back people on their, on their appointments. You're fucking homeless, and it sucks. So Utah figured out that it's better to just give these vets a fucking apartment. That way they can keep their appointments, they can keep up on their medicine, their shit doesn't get stolen, their medical condition doesn't worsen because they're stable. It was cheaper for them to do that than it was to have homeless vets. Oh, but you can't do that. That's socialism. So Republicans got power and got rid of that. Fuck. They got rid of the program. But now we have evidence that it works. It works. The way you get rid of homelessness is by giving people homes. So decide. Do you want to have Elon Musk and homelessness? Or do you not want Elon Musk and have no homeless people? Because they're connected. The two are connected. Exactly 3 years ago, this guy, Brian Karam, asked Donald Trump a simple question. Would he accept a peaceful transfer of power? 91 felony charges and 4 jurisdictions later, we have the same answer he gave that day. Get rid of the ballots, there won't be a transfer. There'll be a continuation. So that was today. So 3 years ago, in September, this representative asked Donald Trump before the election happened if there would be a peaceful transfer of power. And Donald Trump said, if we get rid of democracy, there won't be a transfer of power. I mean, like, he tells you, what do you want me to do? How much more clear can I make it to you that Republicans are Nazis? Here's what Republicans do. Or not Republicans, Russians do. They attack residential buildings. Number of injured in the Kremenchuk attack rises to 55, including 6 children. The number of injured in the Russian attack on Kremenchuk on September 22nd has risen to 55 people, including 6 children. The city's mayor, Vitaly Maletsky reported on September 24th. So Russia fucking attacks residential buildings. That's what they do. They're a terrorist nation. They're authoritarians. What you see Russia doing is what China would do to Taiwan. China would do the same thing to Taiwan that Russia's doing to Ukraine. Understand that, right? They're both authoritarian regimes that don't care about human rights. China is watching what goes on in Ukraine very closely because they want to do the same thing to Taiwan. So by weakening American defense of Ukraine, we are simultaneously weakening American defense of Taiwan. Who's pushing for Ukraine, American defense of Ukraine to be weakened? Who's pushing for that? Kevin McCarthy. Republicans. So let me provide more evidence that Donald Trump is a bad guy.
You know about sex.
This is a clip from the 90s. Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump are on a talk show called the Howard Stern Show. Howard Stern used to be like a radio DJ. He was really, really famous for doing interviews of famous people, and he was like a shock jock. He would say crazy stuff that was inflammatory, but he would get really good responses out of people when they didn't anticipate. See, that's like the key, is like getting people to say what they didn't really mean to reveal. So let me go back here. He's on television and radio right now with his daughter Ivanka.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
Do you see that? His daughter is smiling and agreeing and looking at him, and he's looking resigned and saying, "Yes, it's true." I'm not making it up. Look at yourself.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right.
Oh, look at, before the question is even asked, Ivanka is smiling knowingly and looks at her father. Man, already there are ideas and rumors about Donald Trump molesting his daughter. We know he's already been convicted of being a sexual predator. There was a woman, Jean Carroll, whom he literally grabbed by the pussy. Literally grabbed by the pussy. And then he lied about it and called her a slut or something. He was saying all sorts of bad stuff, and then he got sued and has to pay like $5 million. So he's a rapist, according to a judge. But in the 90s, here he is on the Howard Stern Show. Howard Stern says something about sexual predators, and his daughter, Ivanka, is laughing and looking at him knowingly.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right. I mean,
you are one.
All right.
Robin says, that woman says, "You are one," and he smiles and mouths the words, "It's true."
I was going to say that, but it's true.
See it again.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
Donald Trump is a sexual predator. If you're mad at Bill Clinton for sexually harassing Monica Lewinsky, you have to be mad at Donald Trump for sexually harassing like everyone. Least of all his own daughter. Fetterman pledges to wear a suit if government avoids a shutdown. So this is called using leverage. Republicans have been making hay about how John Fetterman isn't wearing a suit on the floor after he's recovering from a stroke. So Fetterman says, and to them, that's a huge deal. They're making a whole bunch of hay out of it. To them, it's a super, super, super important thing that John Fetterman wear a suit on the House floor. So John Fetterman says, "Okay, Republicans, I understand for you guys it's a super big deal, and you're making a big deal out of it that I wear a suit on the House floor. But for John Fetterman, it's a super big deal to pass a budget and keep the government running so it doesn't close." So John Fetterman says, "Okay, Republicans, I'll make a deal with you. You do the thing that I find really important, and then I'll do the thing you find really important. How about that? John Fetterman will wear a suit if Republicans will pass a bill to keep the government open." Republicans are like, I don't know. We really want to close the government. I don't know. How important is it to Republicans that John Fetterman wear a suit? Is it so important to the Republicans that John Fetterman wear a suit that they'll keep the government open? Or is it more important to close the government than it is for John Fetterman to wear a suit? Which is more important for them? Like if it was really, really important that John Fetterman would wear a suit, then they would do what they need to do to keep the government running. But if it wasn't really important for Republicans that John Fetterman wear a suit, if it wasn't really important, if they were just making it up, then they would close the government anyways. They wouldn't keep the government open just to make him wear a suit. They would close it anyways. They're like, oh, we don't really actually care if you wear a suit or not. We're just gonna close the government. That's how you know Republicans aren't serious people. They're a bunch of Nazis. That's how you know they're Confederates. That's how you know they're Confederates. They tell you, man. They tell you. The fucking Confederates. I'm not unifying, aren't I? No, of course not. I'm not here to unify. What are you talking about? I'm here to excise cancer. WAPO, Washington Post reports, amid escalating campaign led by Jim Jordan of Ohio and other Republicans, it has cast a pall over programs that study political disinformation and the quality of medical information online. So the thing is, medical or misinformation research is buckling under GOP legal attacks. So remember, truth is the enemy of Republicans because they're fascists. So the government has a program in order to debunk a bunch of bullshit that gets spread around. But remember, Republicans are the ones who are spreading the bullshit. So, in fact, it works best. Republicans work best in a low information environment. Because that's when their insinuations do the most damage. When there's low information, they can insinuate as much as they want because there's no information otherwise. So the government created programs in order to combat misinformation because misinformation is detrimental to a functioning, healthy democracy. Well, that's contrary to what the goals of Republicans. They want misinformation because they don't want democracy. So Republicans use their power in the House to thwart government attempts to attack disinformation. Remember, Republicans need disinformation to spread in order for them to advance their agenda. So Sinead O'Connor was telling the truth. Bob Marley was telling the truth. Everywhere is war. And it's not that we bring it, it's that they bring it. They bring it. The fascists bring it. They always bring it. How do they bring it? By denying truth, by attacking truth. They're the ones who bring it by attacking truth. Time and time again, every time. All right, good. We talked about Reagan without crashing. Thank you for checking out my show. Until next time, Pago Kiddo out. Peace. Stop.